Hello, Hollywood Time viewers. Today we're here at the home of famous photographer Jimmy Steinfeldt. So let's see, we got the doorbell rang.
Hey, how are you?
We're here at the home of Jimmy Steinfeldt. Jimmy, introduce yourself for us.
Hi, Jimmy Steinfeldt, welcoming you to my studio.
All right, come on in. Thank you. Oh my goodness, how beautiful. Look at, you come into your home and your first photo. Tell us about this first photo when you enter, who this is.
Well, that's Stevie Nicks, and I photographed her back in the early 80s, and that was, I think, her first solo tour. And I took this picture with a new film at that time, and it was called Kodak 1000. It was a fast film, and it allowed you to shoot pictures indoors in low light.
Yeah.
And there's the result.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just like, look at the background, and it really captured her.
And this picture and the other ones I'm going to show you are all in my upcoming show, which will be on October 28th.
So you're actually going to have folks come here and...
Yeah, if they RSVP,
wonderful.
I'll put them on the list, and then this will be like an atelier. This will be a studio and a one-night event, and it should be really fun. And I'll be showing all these pictures. They'll be for sale. They're all limited edition prints, and these are kind of special, these ones here. And these are a session I did with Dee Ramone, the Ramones for his solo record. And the one at the top was shot in his apartment in Hollywood. And then the two studio shots were done at my Los Angeles studio. A few years after I took these pictures for a project I did with Dee Dee, a few years later he passed away. And then some years after that, his wife did his widow did an exhibition of his artwork. He had, in addition to being a great musician, bass player, and songwriter, he became an artist, painting. And so his wife did a show of his paintings in New York City. But she wanted some pictures of him also in the show.
Oh.
So she contacted me and told me which pictures she wanted. And so I made actually 4. There were 4 that she wanted. And I sent them to her, and then she had them framed this way under plexiglass, very special framing. And so they were in the show with his work, and they were really there just for people to see.
Yeah.
And have memories of Dee Dee. And after the show, she called me. She says, well, the show's over, and I'll ship them back to you, and my thank you is that they're framed and they're yours. And I said, well, that's terrific. I said, I want you to pick one of the 4 and you keep it. So she has one. She has one.
And you have the other 3.
And I have these others. Now, of course, I have the negatives, and I can make prints anytime I want for myself. So I'm going to sell these 3.
At your show?
At my show.
Okay.
And they're one of a kind. And on the back, they're numbered 1 of 1.
Okay.
And signed by me. So those have a kind of a special
story.
So
yeah, that's going to be a good selling point.
Yeah. The Rolling Stones, the entire band.
Oh my goodness.
And a curtain call shot. And George Thorogood. And that George Thorogood picture was my very first picture in a national magazine.
This one?
Yeah, that was in Spin magazine, the first year of Spin magazine. I've also made some very special prints for the show. And they're 1 of 1. That's how limited they're going to be. And one is this picture here of Radiohead.
1 of 1?
Yeah, I'm only making 1 of these ones I'm going to talk about now. I mean, that is a true limited edition.
No kidding.
And if you look in the bottom left corner, you'll see it's numbered 1 of 1.
1 of 1.
And
these are all signed by you.
Yeah, and these are all signed. These are 20 by 30 inch prints. And then if we go over here,
on each one of their faces is priceless.
Thank you. That was in one of their albums, actually.
This is why Jimmy's a famous photographer. Look at that. That's like Oh.
And then, of course, we have Prince, and that was a very special show. That was at a nightclub called Bunkers in Minneapolis, his hometown and my hometown. And I don't think there were more than 150 people there that night. And then Apollonia, who will be here at the opening of this exhibit.
Later this month.
Yeah. And
Look
Willie
at the man.
Nelson. This is my first book, Rock and Roll Lens, and it's 50 of I think my best pictures. Many of them are in this show, and this book will be for sale at the event on October 28th, and I'll sign it any way someone wants.
Nice.
To themselves or a friend. And then there's some other interesting things on here. For instance, there's my SAG-AFTRA magazine. Of course, we know we're on strike, and we hope that strike ends soon. I am a member for over 25 years of SAG-AFTRA, and so sometimes I'm on the other side of the camera, like right now.
Exactly.
And then some other just fun things. This is really cool and unique. This is a beautiful copy of the shooting script from Prince's movie Graffiti Bridge.
Oh.
And that was a gift to me by a good friend of mine, Joel King, who did cinematography on that film and many other things.
Scripts are cool to have.
And here's a cool story on Prince. This is not my picture, but Prince is important to my career. I photographed him in concert for, I'd say, a dozen years, including at the Hollywood Bowl, and many times in Minneapolis, where we were both there at the same time.
What was it like to photograph him? He meant so much to so many of us. What was it like to you?
Well, he certainly was one of the greatest performers ever, and it was fun to see him in small venues, which I did get to see. Well, that's the smallest one when he played Bunkers, but I photographed him at First Avenue, a nightclub, which is a relatively small venue, and then photographed him at large venues. The concerts were always, of course, sold out, and it was great that he provided songs for a lot of other bands too, and he helped create other bands.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really a most unique, truly a very unique musician. He played all the instruments himself. He wrote words and music, and produced the albums himself too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow, there's a whole story just about that man, isn't there?
Yeah, it's quite a guy. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Can we come back to this and tell us what this is all about?
Oh yeah,
this is so unique
it's
looking.
It's a vintage camera, a little Kodak camera. Oh, and this is really funny. So when I got this, there was still film in it. So I think when we're done doing this, I'm going to take a picture of the two of you. I'm almost to the end of this roll.
No way!
And I'm going to have the lab develop it. It's quite possible that none of the pictures will turn out. Right. We'll also do a picture of us, a new one. But I'm going to shoot one of you because I'm waiting to the end of this and we'll find out if film can keep an image for a zillion years.
That would be interesting. We'll have to follow up on you with that.
Okay. So there's a little picture in there. Maybe you'll be able to get it. So I was invited to photograph Don Rickles and Bob Newhart when they did a show in Las Vegas. And that's pictures from that. And I was able to give one of those framed pieces to Bob Newhart. And that one was going to go to Don, but Don passed away. So I thought, what better place to have it than my little bar?
Yeah, right.
And it was really fun to meet them. I have photographed a lot of comedians.
How was Don? How was he, Don Rickles?
Oh, he was great. I'll tell you later a funny story about when I met him. But I photographed Jerry Seinfeld, not to be confused with Jimmy Steinfeldt. I've photographed a lot of the old timers, George Burns, Milton Berle. I photographed Bill Cosby, David Brenner, a lot of comedians, and I really admire them.
How about
Andy
Richard Pryor?
Dick
Richard
and,
Pryor.
my
Did you ever get to?
No,
No, never Richard
one
Pryor,
of the
huh?
greatest
Yeah.
of all time, Richard Pryor, but I never got to photograph him. Well, Steve Allen. Yeah, a lot of great. Oh, here's a
What about?
picture.
Yeah, I was
that
going to ask you about
forgot
that
to
one
tell
up
you
there.
about.
That's,
So I thought this was also good at or near the bar. That's the Stray Cats, and my friend Slim Jim Phantom was chugging
yeah.
a lot
remember the
of
Stray Cats?
Jack Daniels.
I used to like them.
Huey Lewis playing a harmonica.
Oh, says Jim.
Yeah, and George Thorogood.
Wow.
And I told you about that earlier.
Yes.
And
Some little photos up there of
yes,
other.
little photos of me with some of my favorite people. Warren Zevon, one of my favorite songwriters. Here, the Twins won the World Series, and Warren Zevon did a concert and wore one of their T-shirts.
Oh, I see.
And Robert Palmer,
Okay.
Sting,
Oh my goodness.
and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, the renowned record producers, maybe best known for producing Janet Jackson.
Okay.
And of course, they were in the original Prince band,
Wow.
Prince's original
Right.
band. And they were in the band The Time, of course.
Oh, is that what it was? Time?
Yeah, with Morris Day.
Okay.
And Eddie Money, and at the bottom, I think, is the band New Shoes. So those are all pictures that people signed for me, and that means a lot to me. Over that door is kind of interesting. Those little 8x10 black and white
Okay.
pictures. That's Jonathan Frid from Dark
Dark
Shadows.
Shadows.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was a fan of the show
Me
as a kid.
too.
And he came to town and he autographed that for me.
Oh, lucky you.
And Tyrone Power was a friend of my aunt's, my great aunt's, and he
Oh.
autographed that for her. And then that's the comedian Georgie Jessel, and that was some family friend knew him, and I like old time.
You've got a lot of history in here, don't
Yeah.
you? And then
Now
this
over
wall.
here, this wall's rather interesting. Well, up at the top you have one of my favorite photos that anybody ever took, and that's of the Rolling Stones for their Sticky Fingers album sleeve.
And Mick's there on the left, right?
Yep,
With the
there-
mouth.
that's right. And then that picture of Keith Richards, it's sort of a little mini Rolling Stones thing going on.
Okay.
And that picture of Keith is my picture. To the right of him is Michael DeBarge, the very fine rock singer and actor, and that's from the movie about him, the documentary, and that's my picture of him. It's the movie
Oh, that's
poster.
featured. Nice.
And underneath him is Billy Ray Cyrus in front of my old Cadillac.
Achy breaky.
And that was for an album cover I did for him. And underneath that is the girl group Babes in Toyland, wonderful
Oh, good.
punk rock band from my hometown of Minneapolis. And under that, we've got a couple of very legendary record producers. Jack Douglas, who produced Aerosmith, and John Lennon, for that matter. And then Roy Thomas Baker, and that was shot at the Village Recorder in Santa Monica. And of course, he did the early Queen records.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, all those wonderful Queen
Wow.
songs.
That's a mystery.
Then you got John Waters, the great director of wacky movies. And I took that picture of him
Good picture.
years ago, and then he signed it for me. And then underneath that is Mel Brooks.
Oh, you got to meet him too.
Yeah, and we had a
How
wonderful.
funny.
Yeah, I got to interview Mel, and then I sent him two of those, one for him to keep and one for him to sign, and he autographed it for me.
Must have been a hoot, that guy.
Yeah, what a great guy. He's 97 years old.
Still going.
Yeah.
We love it.
Amazing.
Sending him best wishes.
Yeah.
And underneath him is also 97-year-old Roger Corman. And that was shot in his backyard.
Oh my
And
goodness.
of course, we're all great fans of Roger Corman. And George Schlatter is underneath, the man who developed, created Laugh-In TV show.
Oh, that's him. Oh, darn.
And then underneath in my convertible is the cast of the movie Senior Entourage.
A great movie.
Yeah, featuring Ed Asner and
Oh,
Marion Ross, Mark Rydell, and,
Mary Ross.
and also Helen Reddy is in that.
Oh, that's who that is.
And then there's a couple pictures of family and friends, and then over.
And look at, there's Jimmy up there.
Yeah,
Great
that's
photo.
right. And then this is kind of fun up here. This is my first check.
Oh, goodness.
This is from Spin Magazine, and it's for that picture of George Thorogood, which ran in.
That's the Spin Magazine you talked about.
Yeah. There's my
What
first
year was
camera.
that, Jimmy?
That's like 85 or something like that.
Oh, that's super
Wow.
cool.
And then I got my first camera there on that
Back
little
there?
shelf.
Oh, yeah.
My $100 Minolta.
Minolta.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money back then, though, wouldn't it have been?
Yeah, it was.
You know, when you first got it?
Yeah, for me it was.
Yeah.
I could not afford a Canon or a Nikon for sure.
Oh,
So,
wow, isn't that something?
but I could just afford that. And actually, a lot of these pictures you see here were shot with that $100 camera.
No way.
Yeah,
Look at that.
They really were.
Way to go, Minolta.
And
Give
then
them a
soon
plug.
after that,
And then what? Look at this, folks.
oh, this is my Mac museum.
Look at this, folks. Do we even know what this is to all of our younger audience out there?
So,
Tell us, Jimmy.
So this is the earliest piece in my Jimmy's Mac museum, and then you move to my first really big computer, also a Mac, not a Mac screen, but the Mac.
And that had the disc drives back in the day, right?
It
They
had
called
room for a disc or a floppy.
or
either one.
floppy.
Or
Look
a
that up,
CD. And then a laptop here was the next generation, and then of course this is the current
The
generation.
modern. Way to go,
Although this
Jimmy.
is already
Obsolete, right?
Yeah, it's not obsolete, but it's probably getting time to
Yeah.
replace,
Update it now.
Update it.
Yes, that's amazing. And these are just all.
Well, yeah, various things that relate to photography. This
You
is
got
kind of fun to show
iPhones and-
off. So this is a
we love everything
Polaroid.
photography.
This
So.
is a Polaroid camera.
We all know what Polaroids.
Going
Remember
on.
those?
Everything is all. So you can take this thing off. Let's see.
So that's the actual films that pop out. Is it automatic?
Yeah, this is instant film. It's a little sticky. Let's see here.
Jimmy's like,
Well, anyway,
yeah, we don't want to break it.
you're right. It does work. It's got bellows, so it comes out like this.
Wow.
Oh
And,
man, like you saw in the movies.
yeah, and this is the professional model of this camera. There's like a low-cost version, and then there's this one where you can actually use it in the studio and hook it up to studio lights. These are all my phones. I've saved every single phone, going all the way back to flip
You do not
phones.
have a little flip phone.
Little
Let
flip
me.
phone.
Is that singular?
I
From
don't know,
Singular
I
back
don't
in the
know.
day?
Motorola,
Oh, this is
I think.
LG. Verizon.
LG?
Look at this
Okay.
phone, folks. I have my first phone was just like this, and it was through a company called Singular. And I don't know if Motorola made it, but that is high tech right there, folks. The little
So-
flip phones. Way to go.
Yeah,
Jimmy.
so instead of, exchanging a phone each so many years, I
Yeah.
just save them. I've got every single iPhone that I've ever had.
Good
And
for you. And Jimmy, what are these?
so those
Binders.
those binders over there are, well, I'll show you, they're filled with slides. Remember slides?
Yes.
Like
Most people in this interview
movie
or seeing
projector.
this won't know what it is.
So
Look at that.
so there was a time when magazines really wanted to work off of slides more than
Okay.
anything else. And one of the reasons was you could, a photo editor at a magazine could take a page of these and put them on a light board.
A light board.
Yeah, and then see all the photographers' work quickly. And
Oh.
because these are, another word for these are transparencies because they're transparent, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
so
cool history.
so I started my career by shooting negative film, and I love negative film, but the editors really liked slides, working from slides. And when you're a photojournalist, you want the photo editor to be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I started shooting slides. And so a lot of my photos were shot on slides, and I have to keep them, carefully preserved.
amazing.
And it actually ties in with something I'm going to do at this show coming up. So you just saw all the prints that I have for sale, the limited edition,
Yes.
signed and numbered prints.
Yes.
From various sizes, from 11 by 14, 16 by 20, and those really big 20 by 30 inch prints. But I also did something recently that I decided just really this week to include in the show, and this is what it is right here.
Oh my gosh, do we all know what these are? You hold it up into the light and you can see. No way!
Isn't that cool? So let me try.
Wow!
So what you do is you hold this little magnifying thing up to the light, and inside is John Entwistle of The Who. John, come on out. He's in there. So there's
oh my goodness.
so there's a slide inside here.
And it magnifies it because it's got magnifying on one end.
Right. And so you look in and
It's
you can
peeping.
see it. Now the interesting thing about also I autographed it. So I'm going to be
Personalized.
selling these. Yeah.
Of different photos.
Yeah, different photos.
Oh my goodness, folks.
So, but the interesting thing about this is this photo inside here is the original slide that it's the film that I actually pulled through the camera, that I advanced through the camera.
No way.
So this is also a one of a kind.
Yeah, one of one.
One of one. So whoever buys this, they're going to have the only copy of this picture.
Oh my
That I
gosh,
took.
that's...
And I have many, I have enough others from the show that if I need to make a print, but whoever buys this is getting the
One of one.
only copy, and they're getting the original film.
Wow.
So this is going to be a really cool item to have, and then you can put it on your keychain,
yeah.
or just
and
have
do a
it,
signature.
or just have it on at home and say,
How did this idea come
friends.
to you?
I come up with crazy ideas.
Well, that's not crazy. That's brilliant.
Yeah, thanks. I'll tell you what helped. I found these little containers at like a garage sale.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of them. So I bought, there was no picture inside.
Okay.
And I said, well, I've got an idea. And so I went through and I found, several original
Yeah.
slides.
How do you get it that small? That's smaller
I
than
had
a
to
note.
cut them very carefully.
Oh, that's how.
I had to cut them down to fit.
Wow.
So
You need to patent that, Jimmy.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. So those are available in my show coming up.
Wow. Can you get that? Look at that. And his autograph. That's really cool.
Now, also, for you, there's my card. That's my card.
This is your card?
That's my card.
Wow, look. That's his card. Who would have thunk?
And the reason
Cool.
the reason it's a label, looks like a label
Yeah,
for
a label
clothing,
for your clothing.
is because it is a label for clothing. Because I have my own clothing line. See this
That's
shirt?
what that
What?
is?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
I want one of those shirts. I love polka dots.
Well, I'm making shirts for rock and roll people.
Oh, Jimmy.
Artists, we have to do more than one thing, right?
Of course. And it's just got all glittery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to take
I'll
off.
have one for you too.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
that's amazing.
Wow.
But most important, if you open that, there's a very special and cool picture inside
Oh,
there.
let's see what's in here, folks. Judy Shields is excited.
Drum roll, please.
Here we go. Oh my gosh, look at that. You know who that is, don't you? Come on.
Oh, wow.
Who is it?
Your friend's
My
brother,
best friend's brother, Little Richard.
little Richard.
Richard
So
Penguin.
one of those is for you,
Oh my gosh,
and
folks.
one is for your friend.
One is for me, one Frika. It's coming to you in
Wow.
Tennessee. Thank you, Jimmy. Oh, look at that beautiful photo. All right, tell me about this photo. Look at that costume he's wearing.
Yeah,
I say
that.
costume, but his outfit.
I think this was at Frank Sinatra's 80th birthday.
Wow.
This was either at Sinatra's 80th birthday party
Okay.
or at the Grammy Awards. And I
Okay.
think this was Frank Sinatra's 80th birthday party. Oh, that's quite a story too, when I photographed Frank's 80th birthday party. So,
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
the network put on a big celebration for Frank's 80th birthday party, and it was on campus at USC, the famous venue there where the Academy Awards used to be all the time, and the Shrine Auditorium.
Yeah, the Shrine.
And so I photographed the entire event. I forget exactly what date it was, but you could look it up when Frank turned 80.
We'll look it up.
So just everybody in Hollywood was there. It was incredible. So Bob Dylan performed.
Oh my goodness.
Springsteen performed. Vic Damone performed.
Wow.
And let's see, Edie Gourmet. They performed. It was really and Don Rickles did comedy.
Of course.
and there was just all these great legendary people.
It's amazing.
And performed or congratulated, spoke.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, Frank was pretty frail at that point, but he got up from his, he was sitting just below the stage receiving all these accolades that night, and then he got up and they all sang, I think New York, New York was the closing of the show. And actually you can see the show on the internet.
Yeah, YouTube or something. Okay.
But I was there photographing the whole thing.
Oh, Jimmy,
And
wow, special.
and after the show, there was a special after party, and that was in the basement. So I raced down there, and one of the first people to come in after the show was over was Milton Berle.
Oh my goodness.
And Mr. Television. So that's when I met Milton Berle. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that would take your breath away.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Wow. Did you take pictures? Were you able to take pictures of Frank at that particular, at his stage of life, or did you not feel comfortable doing that?
Well, I photographed Frank, I think three times.
Okay.
You saw one of the pictures out there.
Okay, so that was
Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, so that was in
earlier.
Okay, earlier.
And that was the Rat Pack reunion tour.
Okay.
And then I photographed him even before that, and when he did a solo tour.
Okay.
That would have been maybe in the late 80s or something.
Nice.
And that picture is in my second book, Rock and Roll Lens Volume 2.
Okay, so you have a second one.
Yeah,
After
to
that.
the one that's
That's out there. Okay.
I'll show you that.
Okay,
in a
great.
little bit.
And then also, not to interrupt, but you working on some kind of
Ooh, I am working on a
new
third
little
book.
That's
That's
Hush Hush.
right.
Can you tell us a little
I
about
can tell
that?
you about that.
All right.
So the third book that I'm doing has nothing to do with rock and roll photography or photography at all.
Okay.
It has to do with movies.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And my favorite director is Alfred Hitchcock.
Whoa.
So my new book, which I'm still working on, is called Hitchcock's Shadow.
No, what a great title.
Thank you. Conversations with the Great Directors. And what I'm doing is I'm interviewing all the legendary directors on how they were influenced by Alfred Hitchcock.
How cool is that? So you're actually like one-on-one interviews
That's
with
correct.
them? Oh, way to go, Jimmy.
Some of the directors that I've interviewed about, I'd say at least 15 at this point.
Oh my gosh.
But some of that I've interviewed include Mel Brooks. Interviewed Mel because, he made a movie called High Anxiety, which is a tribute to a spoof on Hitchcock. I interviewed Peter Bogdanovich, one of my favorite directors of blessed memory, and he was very close to Hitchcock. He knew Hitchcock very well personally, so that was a great interview for me to get. I interviewed John Woo, the great Chinese director who's directed all these amazing action films. Mark Rydell, who directed On Golden Pond, Academy Award-winning film, and Roger Corman.
You did?
Roger was one of my first interviews for this book, and he had great stories about how Hitchcock influenced his career, and it's quite a long list of directors, but I have some ways to go. I definitely want to interview Spielberg, Scorsese, the Coen brothers, people who
Yeah.
you look at their work and you know, oh, there's some Hitchcock influence going on here. And Quentin Tarantino, we
Yeah.
talked about him earlier.
Yes, he's amazing.
Yeah, who I've met before.
Yeah.
You know, wonderful director. Would love to interview him. So when I get a number of more interviews,
Okay.
then you'll be seeing Hitchcock's shadow.
Now, will you be also having photos that you've taken with them in this book as well?
Yes, there will be. Yes,
Okay.
some of these people I was able to do a photo session with,
Okay.
and some not. Some I
Right.
just had to do it over the phone.
Phone. Yes, I understand. Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
it's the book is about their stories, and
yes.
how they were influenced
By
by
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock. And we talk about really a lot of the technical issues. I asked them all about the cinematography,
Yes.
the screenwriting, and the fact that in later career Hitchcock was also his own producer. You know, a lot of directors they let a producer produce, but some directors go on to be producers.
Oh, I didn't know that about him.
The best example of that is Psycho.
You produced that?
He produced it.
I did not
Yeah.
know that.
That's kind of a
Wow.
fun little story. I'll tell you really quickly. So, in the 1950s, Hitchcock, of course, by then was world famous. Even then, he was, I'm sure, considered the world's greatest director. So he was famous, he was wealthy, and he saw that all these young directors were making all these low-budget films for drive-in theaters, and they were making a lot of money. You know, in the 1950s, people loved to go to drive-in theaters.
Mhm.
And of course, when you go to a drive-in theater, you're not there to watch the movie, you're there to do other things, you know, with your date,
Yeah.
family. Anyway, so Hitchcock thought, well, if these young directors who don't always know what they're doing can make a successful movie, low budget, I certainly can. So he decided to make a low budget movie, and he figured, well, I'll finance it myself because this should be successful. I'll get all the money for me. And basically that's what he did. Now, he had no idea it was going to be the unbelievable success that it would be. I imagine he figured, I'll make money, but of course it ended up being his most famous movie.
And what a movie.
Yeah. So that's a little background on how the movie Psycho came about. And by the way, he shot that with basically his TV crew, because, you know, by the 50s he was making the TV show.
Okay, yeah, yes.
And his TV crew it wasn't as expensive to hire his TV crew as it would be to make a feature film.
Oh,
Take a
that's
feature
smart.
film crew. So it just all worked out great for him. It was very low budget film to make, and it didn't have super famous stars in it too. If you think
At
about
that
the
time,
cast, yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Whereas his feature films were Cary Grant
Yeah,
and all these other,
I paid.
Jimmy Stewart,
Yeah.
even Eva Marie Saint. I mean, you know, already very famous people, and they got time. So that worked out very good for him. So, and then I think he produced some of his other movies too later in his career, but that was his home run.
So this is going to be a great history book too, you know?
I think so.
Yeah, history and photos. That's amazing. Well, I guess we know what you've been working on, huh? You're going to continue to work on.
Absolutely. I'll tell you something about this office. Do you want to take a rest? Your arm is probably getting tired.
I got the nice hand rest here.
Oh, good deal.
Armrest. I'm Moses.
She's a Bronx, New Yorker, so she's...
So you have to picture in your mind this room. It was a bedroom.
Oh, okay.
But I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm proud to say that I designed the entire layout of this office myself. I did not build it myself because I'm not good at that, but I designed
But
this
you
desk.
designed it. Oh, yeah, no,
I
goodness.
designed exactly. I wanted someone to be able to sit there, and I'm here. And actually, of course, if I take this stuff off of here, I can put huge prints
Oh my gosh.
down here and talk about them with the client. And then I needed all the counter space
to put your
to
books.
do
and
the
all your
various
other
things that you
stuff.
see.
Yeah.
And so I have to say I'm proud about that. Also, when you have something in your mind, you never know how it's going to come out
True.
when it's
true.
completed. But I would say that this came out about 95% exactly the way I wanted.
Jimmy didn't know he was an architect, folks, as well as photographer.
I'm certainly
Look at
not,
him.
but I do love architecture, and I have a lot of books on architecture, and I've paid a lot of attention, certainly, to the great Frank Lloyd Wright and his, if you will, descendants, well, including his actual descendant, Lloyd Wright, but I'm talking about the wider group of people who studied at Taliesin.
Exactly. It's done. It's very well organized, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Very well organized.
I guess maybe one last thing I'll tell you about is actually this bookcase here.
Yeah, there you've got some CDs, right? And also cassettes, folks, for those who don't know what cassettes are.
So what I'll tell you about here
and albums too, Jimmy? Is that albums?
Yes. So these are all CD covers that I've done, and even back to the days of cassettes. So this is all my work, and then even some DVDs that I did. Then you have every single thing here includes my photography as published. Back in newspapers.
Oh, you're like newspapers.
Yeah.
Oh, and magazines, right?
Yeah, the cover of the Radiohead biography, stuff for Rolling Stone Press, and so on. So everything you see here. Now, of course, there's been tons and tons more of my stuff. There just isn't room to put.
Okay.
But this is
a little bit.
A little bit, and it's mostly the oldest stuff.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of interesting. So I photographed quite a few politicians, including Bernie Sanders.
Oh, I'll be darned.
And so I was really excited when this picture of mine got licensed for this book cover.
Oh.
And just kind of for fun,
how cool
why don't
is
you
that?
Open it up to just any page and read a little something about Bernie. What is it? Read something aloud.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot, huh? I may have to take off my glasses. Oh, it's in a German,
It's in German.
It's in German. I'm like, wait a minute. He wants me to read.
That was a joke.
Woods in Ina. That's about all. Like, there you go. Not too bad, huh?
So
German.
you never know where your pictures are going to end up.
Right.
Congratulations on that, Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, and this is crazy. So, we'll put this down here. So
the bridge.
So this is a well-known
Robert
novelist.
B. Parker's. Love him.
So what do I have to do with this? Well, apparently the book is called The Bridge, and there's a bridge.
Okay, between the horse riders.
Between the horse riders. That's my picture of a bridge.
No.
Yeah. So of all the pictures that exist in the whole world of a bridge, Robert Parker and his publishers went obviously searching for it, and they ended up choosing my picture.
Oh my goodness.
To be, so you never know where your photos are going to end up. I love antique things. I saw this old-fashioned bridge. I think it's in Arizona somewhere, and
Now, how would they find that picture, Jimmy? Explain that to us.
Yeah, it's actually.
I'm curious.
I will tell you that. I'm going to tell you that story.
And they gave you the credit for that too, or no?
I think I have a credit. I probably do have a photo credit in there. And I certainly got paid for it. They used.
Okay, cool.
Before I forget, I'm going to show you something else that's really.
Because that just intrigued me. What? That's your photo on a cover of a
And
well-known
this is all,
novelist, you know?
What else can I'm going to tell you how that got there. Oh, there's my hole-in-one. I got a hole-in-one.
Oh, how cool is that?
That was fun. Now, let me just show you also. This has nothing to do with my photography, except that it has influenced me. So this whole shelf here are books on movies. You see all
Dracula. I see Dracula.
Yeah, there's Dracula.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And,
I see Des Arnaz.
Yeah, that was this is a gift from his daughter to me. And
It is?
yes,
Oh,
so I met her here in the desert. There you go. Yeah. And so that was really kind of her to gift me with that book. What an amazing, interesting life, the Cuban band leader.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. Oh, and then these are all books on comedy. We talked about the comedians I photographed.
Yeah,
these
Carl
are
Reiner, look at that.
very much
Oh.
influenced by comedians.
So.
And then what do we got down? Oh, and then of course books on music.
Wow.
And I was telling you earlier about Marky Ramone. No, this is Ronnie Wood's book. Okay, where's Mark? Anyway, some of the Steve Jones. This is kind of cool. This is Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols, and
Look at that.
to Jimmy. Thanks for the pics. So there's a picture in here. One of these photos in this book is mine.
Oh, so there
that's
you go.
really fun when one of
When you
your
get
heroes
that, yeah.
Right.
uses one of your pictures in this book. And at the bottom, we've got lots of books on photography. So this is almost all books on
And look how
photography.
big some of those books are too. Tall, you know.
Oh yeah, some of these
Huge.
are.
Well, for photography, like your book is big too, which
Yeah.
is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like having your pictures in full, big pictures.
So I was going to tell you how I got that
Look at all
picture.
these.
Look, and he even has a Mickey Mouse hat. How can you miss that?
I
Jimmy,
know,
a big
right?
Disney fan. Gotta take a picture. What's the story behind your Disneyland Mickey ears, Jimmy?
Well, it was when I found those, I think at a thrift shop, I said, I got to get those because
Okay.
I remember going there to Disneyland, when they had paper tickets.
Oh,
Right.
yes, the
A,
e-tickets.
B's, the e-ticket was
E-ticket,
the-
we remember.
That was the best ticket to have.
Yeah. Oh.
So, okay, how did I get my picture in the bridge?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, there was a exhibit. There was an exhibit at the Bergamot Station. You know where Bergamot?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. Mhm.
In Santa Monica, and it was the history of the album cover. So it was just a wonderful exhibit of all these classic album covers, from rock to jazz to everything, R&B. And many of the old-time photographers were there. Many of them passed away since then. But so I got to meet some of these legendary people at that exhibit. One of the people at that exhibit is not a photographer, but his name is Michael Oakes. And I knew that name because I'd been reading rock and roll magazines, since I was a teenager. And Michael Oakes had a photo archive, an agency, a photo agency.
Okay.
So when you'd open up Rolling Stone magazine and you'd see an old photo from the 1950s, it would have the name of the photographer, and then it would have Michael Oakes' name there too, because he was the one who figured out how to get them licensed.
Oh.
So I introduced myself to him, and I said, I've seen your name forever. And he said, well, we work with photographers from way back, the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Wow.
But he said, it sounds like, Jimmy, you've got photos from the 1980s and 90s and so forth. And he said, we could probably use those in our collection. So I started to contribute to him and his company. And then after I was contributing to the Michael Oakes archives for several years, he basically retired and sold his business to Getty Images.
Oh, I see. That's where the Getty images for a lot of this stuff
So
is.
all my stuff went over to Getty. And of course, Getty's become the world's largest photo agency.
Yes.
So that's worked out very well. When Parker
Wow.
needed a picture of a bridge, they went to the Getty website and probably looked at a zillion pictures of bridges. And for that thing, they happened to choose mine.
How awesome, though. That is really cool. Cover of a novel,
Mhm.
Congratulations on that.
That
Boy,
is
you
fun.
do have a career, I'm telling you.
My Rock and Roll Lens Volume 2.
30 years of music, photography, and stories.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the back.
Oh, look at that. Who's on the back? Tell us
Okay.
who
So
they
we've
are.
got Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
Let's see. Bruce Springsteen, Fiona
Wow.
Apple, Billie Joe Armstrong of Green Day.
Is that iced tea?
This is Ice-T.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Nelson, and that picture's in the
Okay.
show.
Yes.
Ringo Starr,
That's Ringo. I'll be darned.
Iggy Pop,
Oh, wow.
and Neil Young.
Look at Neil. Wow.
And of course, on the cover is Angus Young of AC/DC. And they will be playing like a couple miles from here this coming weekend at Power Trip.
Oh. That's kind of cool, isn't it?
So let me tell you about the making of this book. After the success of the first book, I decided the first book, the coffee table book, is a $50 book. At least it was when it came out.
Yeah.
I'm now selling it for less because it's been out for many years.
Okay.
And it'll be available at my show on the 20th of October. And I'll autograph it for people. But after it first came out at, originally at $50, I thought, well, a lot of people can't afford $50 for a coffee table book.
Yeah.
So this book, I wanted it to be much less expensive.
Okay.
So that required, number one, it be physically smaller, but most importantly, that it be paperback.
Yeah.
And also, I saved some money because it's all black and white photography.
Which I love that, though. Black and white is just...
And I thought that would add something to it. And of course, artists, we always want to be different each time we do something.
Yeah.
So this is different in many ways. It's smaller, it's less expensive, but artistically, it's black and white versus color. But one of the main differences, in my first book, I wrote all the stories.
Okay.
You open it up, you see a picture of George Thorogood, and then next to it is my story on how that picture came to exist.
That's great. Okay.
So I thought, well, I've already done that on my last book. What can I do with this? So what I did with this book is I called all kinds of people I know in show business. And I said, would you write a story about the picture? So
that's cool.
Yeah, so flipping just randomly, see what would be a good example here. Okay, here's a good one. Chet Atkins.
Oh boy. Famous guitar
So
player.
I called my friend Del Casher, who's a fantastic guitar player. He played with Elvis Presley, he played with everybody, and he's also somewhat of an inventor too. And he helped a lot of companies invent really cool gadgets and things for guitars.
Oh, okay.
He's just a very creative guy. So I called Del, and he wrote.
So that's his story.
That's his story about
Chet Atkins. Oh, see, this man's intelligent.
Let's see. What's another good example? Here's another fun one here somewhere.
You'll have to give me this book.
Let's see. Oh, well, this is terrific because she's going to be here. So Apollonia.
Yeah.
Apollonia, of course, is the female star of Purple Rain, the love interest in that wonderful movie. So we're friends, and she's going to be here on the 28th.
Oh,
and her
nice.
picture's in the show.
Get to meet her.
And that's going to be really fun. So Apollonia wrote this wonderful story about Carlos Santana. So this is my photo of Carlos, and this is her story.
It for you?
Yeah, and she signed it for me too. So,
wow. What a photo album for you to do, me.
Yeah, exactly. So this has been really. Here's a really.
And will this one be for sale here on your event as well?
This will be for sale too.
As well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not the autograph copy.
Yes, of course, that's yours.
Nice. So I'm looking forward to that.
So, I mean, something like this, I bought something like that, I would carry that book with me if I go to different events, because if I met any of these folks who are still around, can you sign this, and this is Jimmy's picture of you kind of thing. So that's a good way to get actually a autograph book too.
Yeah, and you mentioned something. Let's see. Well, the good news is
we love that they're still
everybody is still around on the front and back cover.
Wow, that's true.
Willie's
up there.
Willie's up there. He's an elder statesman.
What did he just turn? He just had his birthday.
I think he turned 90.
90. I think he did the big 90.
But B.B. King is no longer with us. Merle Haggard's no longer with us. Frank. Oh, well, I got to show you that.
That's a little Frank. Who did Frank for you?
So, this is I'm going to read you this one because it's so fun.
What does it say?
Waddy Wachtel.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
So, Waddy Wachtel is one of the great rock guitarists, I'd say, the last 50 years.
Okay.
He co-wrote a song called Werewolves of London.
Yeah, I love that song.
It's the Warren Jason Michael's on the cover. Listen, my career was launched in the 80s. That's when he became a superstar. It's also the era in which Madonna became a superstar.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, there's Madonna.
And another great artist of that era that became a superstar is on the back. My Minneapolis buddy,
Oh,
Prince.
Prince.
But yeah, it was not easy for me to determine who's going to be the main featured person. But it just seemed to me that that's King of Pop needed to be on the cover.
Yeah. Needed to ask that question because
Yeah.
why was Michael, or, you know, how do you choose the right one? So we're here filming Jimmy as he's
All right, we'll sign
going
this
to
one.
sign a copy of his book. We're getting an amazing autograph that we will not be selling on eBay.
No, of course, this is forever.
This is forever. Our dear friend
Judy.
Judy. Thank you. Not with an I. So look at here. Jimmy is signing. Oh, an autographed copy of his amazing book,
God, this is amazing.
Rock and Roll Lens, 30 Years of Photography and Stories. We're both, my friend Tina and I are just took our breath away when Jimmy told us. We're so excited. Oh, there it is, folks. Cannot copy that. That's a copyrighted signature right there.
Oh my gosh.
That's his trade name.
Can't wait to show the kids.
There's one.
Yay, there's one. All
like what I
right.
wrote?
As Christina, and
Yeah.
that's Christina.
Okay.
That's her birth name, Christina.
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay, spell again.
Christina.
T-I.
That's why she goes.
N-A.
She goes by Tina to all of us, but
Yes.
Christina is her name. So there,
Wow,
Jimmy
that is
signing.
beautiful.
Tina was our photographer today. So
Yeah, I feel so
see,
honored.
she's getting her one, and Judy, the interviewer over here, is getting one, and we will be talking more about Jimmy's event he's having here at his beautiful home studio on October 28th.
Yep.
So you'll find out more about that, folks. Stay tuned. There we go.
Okay.
Wow.
Read
Jimmy,
it and
can you do a
it.
favor? Can you
Yeah.
date it?
Sure.
Yeah, I love dates.
Sorry, but we like to date things because then
Okay.
we know. So Jimmy's going to date
Well,
mine
I think it's
too.
the first.
Yes.
It is. That's October 1st, 2023, folks. So Jimmy is going to date them for us because that's, to me, I love
This is like special.
I love to have things dated. 10, 1, 23.
3.
There we go. Thank you so much. Do you have a little last word you want to say about your book there that we're going to be able to buy on that date, October 28th? We can also get this book on Amazon, or where is it out there too? Jimmy, still, do you know?
Yes. Probably the best place to buy my book is at jimmysteinfeldt.com.
There you go, folks.
And this book and the few copies I have left of the paperback part 2 will be available at the show on October 28th. And I'll be happy to sign them for anybody that wants to buy a copy. And this is $25 and this is $20.
The smaller
So,
one, paperback one.
This is half the price it was at publication date. So this is a tremendous value. And I have several copies, so I would love people to have them. I will have pricing for all the limited edition prints the night of the show. There'll be a brochure on all the pricing at the show. And I invite you guys to return for that. Or
Where are you going to
so-
have that here?
it'll be here.
Wow.
And
Judy.
Apollonia will be
She'll be here as
guest
well. Okay.
honor at the thing, and it'll be great fun.
And you will have like little light bites
Yep,
and
we'll
little.
have light bites and
Okay.
drinks. Yes, absolutely.
All right, we will make sure, Jimmy, that we will put that on our website.
Okay.
So a link, folks, you have to, once you agree that you want to come to that, Jimmy's place is private, his home. So once you do reserve you coming to that, you'll be able to have his address and come for that special night that we will all be here October 28th and to view all of his amazing photos that he has for sale. Like you said, once again, his book. So any last words for us, Jimmy, before we call it a day?
No, it was great to have the Hollywood Times here with me today, and I wish you guys a great week.
Thank you too. We appreciate it. Bye for now.